They fired him on a rainy afternoon, in front of students who still believed he was a hero. And by the next morning, the entire school was frozen in silence as a black billionaire's helicopter descended onto the playground. No one, not the proud principal, not the gossiping teachers, not the laughing parents, had any idea who that single dad really was or what mistake they had just made. If stories about hidden kindness, shocking justice, and emotional payback move your heart, like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales, because what you're about to hear will stay with you long after it ends. Daniel Cross had never asked life for much, just enough time to be both a good teacher and a good father. But life rarely negotiates with single dads. And on the morning his alarm failed and his daughter Lily overslept crying from a fever, everything unraveled at once. He arrived 10 minutes late to school, rain dripping from his worn jacket, breathless and apologetic, only to be summoned immediately to Principal Harold Whitman's office, where the walls were decorated with awards that celebrated discipline but not compassion. Whitman didn't ask why Daniel was late, didn't mention Lily, didn't care that Daniel had stayed after school every day tutoring struggling students for free. Instead, he slid a termination letter across the desk with cold efficiency, citing unprofessional conduct and failure to meet institutional standards, while two teachers avoided eye contact like witnesses to a quiet execution. Daniel felt the room spin. Not because of pride, but because rent was due, Lily needed medicine, and teaching was the one thing he was good at. But still, he stood up straight, thanked the principal softly, and asked only for a moment to say goodbye to his class. In room 214, students fell silent when they saw his red eyes, and when he told them he wouldn't be returning, a girl in the back cried openly while a boy asked if it was his fault for failing. Daniel knelt, smiled, and told them the truth, that kindness mattered more than grades, and that believing in themselves was the real lesson. Before walking out with a cardboard box containing chalk, old books, and a handmade card Lily had drawn that said, "My daddy is a teacher hero." That night, Daniel sat at his kitchen table counting coins, Lily asleep beside him, whispering apologies to a future he thought he had failed, unaware that a single moment from years ago, one small act of kindness he barely remembered, was about to return with thunderous force. The next morning, the school buzzed with rumors before the bell even rang. Parents whispering, teachers speculating, the principal pacing nervously, until the sound came, deep and unmistakable, chopping the air like judgment. Itself, as a sleek black helicopter descended onto the football field, sending papers flying and mouths hanging open. Security scrambled. Students pressed against windows. And then he stepped out. Victor Hale, billionaire philanthropist, global investor, a man whose name appeared in headlines next to words like power and untouchable. The principal rushed forward, sweating through his tailored suit, stammering welcomes and apologies for the disruption. But Victor didn't shake his hand. Instead, he asked one simple question that echoed through the field. Where is Daniel Cross? Silence fell like a dropped curtain. Inside the administration office, panic spread as phones rang unanswered, until someone finally admitted Daniel had been fired the day before. Victor's expression hardened, not with anger, but with something far more dangerous, clarity. He asked for a chair, sat down slowly, and told a story no one expected. A story from 10 years ago, when his private jet had made an emergency landing in a storm, when his daughter, burned in an accident and terrified of the world, had refused to speak to doctors or therapists until a substitute teacher at a small public school had volunteered to tutor her. Billionaire's child, but like a human being worthy of patience and dignity. That teacher, Victor said quietly, was Daniel Cross. He never asked who I was. He never charged me. He just showed up. The room trembled with every word as Victor revealed that his daughter now ran one of the largest education charities in the country, and that he had come today to announce a multi-million-dollar donation, until he learned the school had fired the very man who embodied everything education was supposed to stand for. The principal's face drained of color as Victor stood, adjusted his coat, and said, "You don't deserve my money, and you don't deserve him." By noon, the story had spread beyond the school gates. News vans lining the street, parents demanding answers, teachers standing in stunned silence. as Victor Hale personally drove to Daniel's small apartment, where a single dad opened the door in disbelief, Lily clutching his hand, her fever finally broken. Victor didn't make speeches. He simply hugged Daniel, thanked him, and offered him a choice. Not a job, but a future, full financial security, a leadership role in a national education foundation, and the freedom to teach the way he always had, with heart first and rule second. Daniel cried, not for himself, but for every teacher who had ever been unseen, every parent who had ever struggled quietly, before accepting on one condition: that the school reinstate him, apologize publicly, and commit to compassion as policy, not exception. Days later, Daniel returned to the same classroom, welcomed by students holding signs and parents wiping tears, while the principal resigned under pressure, replaced by someone who understood that authority without empathy is failure. During recovery, treating her not like a fragile. As Daniel stood at the chalkboard again, Lily in the front row smiling proudly, he realized something powerful, that kindness never disappears, it just waits, and when it comes back, it comes bigger than fear, louder than injustice, and stronger than pride. If this story moved you, reminded you to believe in quiet goodness and unseen sacrifices, please like this video and subscribe to True Kindness Tales, because the world needs more stories where kindness wins, and more people brave enough to live them.